Prisoners' voting rights. It is a mark of good government to restore felons' rights and provide them with the opportunity to succeed and become law-abiding citizens again. Robert F. McDonald. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about prisoners' voting rights and the disenfranchisement laws that primarily affect people of color. Throughout America, 2.2 million Black citizens, or nearly 1 in 13 African American adults, are banned from voting because of these laws. With the recent Black Lives Matter movement, I have started to educate myself on the many ways Black people continue to face oppression in America. This includes the mass incarceration of Black people through the school to prison pipeline. This problem has been around since the end of slavery and still continues to limit Black people's voices. Many states in the USA are still not allowing people with a criminal record to vote. However, this has become even more important as elections are not being represented by the whole population. To put things in perspective, imagine you are a young Black man convicted of minor drug charges. At your court date, you are found guilty and charged with 10 years in prison. You serve your time in jail, and after 10 long years, you are released. You are excited to get your life back on track and enjoy the privileges of being back in society again. However, after all those years of serving your time, you're not allowed to vote. The founding principle of the country as we the people is stripped from you forever for a small mistake made many years ago. Even after learning your lesson, serving your time, and turning your life back around, you still have no say in the government that controls you. Today, I will be explaining why prisoners should be able to vote after serving their time in jail. First, I'm going to be discussing the history of what our country was founded on with regards to taxation without representation. Next, I'm going to be discussing the constitutional rights and amendments that protect our right to vote. Finally, I'm going to be talking about the disproportionate sentencing of Black people and people of color in America that continues to oppress them. Fighting for our independence from Britain is very similar to the argument presented for our prisoners to vote. The Boston Tea Party was based on taxation without representation. The colonists threw 342 chests of tea in the river to protest the tax on tea without any representation. They argued that you should not have to pay taxes to a government that doesn't represent you. This is the same for the case of prisoners. As many states, prisoners are still not allowed to vote, even after serving their time and passing parole. However, after they are released, they are still expected to pay taxes, even though they are stripped of their right to vote, petition the government, and ultimately have any say. America fought for independence based on the fact that it is unjust for citizens to not have any say in their government or not be able to petition the government if needed. America was founded on the phrase, "we the people," showing that the people have the right to say in their government rather than the government having complete control. However, this is not the case for all citizens because prisoners lose all their rights to have a say in their government because they went to jail. This is silencing a significant portion of the population simply because they went to prison. The history of the independence from Britain allowed for the Constitution and amendments to protect against the things that Britain didn't. Many amendments in the Constitution touch on voting rights. The Eighth Amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishments. For prisoners that commit a crime, it is reasonable punishment to serve their time. However, it is cruel to prohibit a lifetime of voting, taking away your right as a citizen to voice your opinions and have a say in your government. The most basic right that America was founded on is stripped from prisoners simply because they went to jail. Not to mention, many prisoners are losing their right to vote over small crimes. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. The fact that someone has been to jail should not determine whether they are worthy of voicing their opinions or becoming active in the government. If they aren't trusted enough to elect our leaders, then why should they be let out in the first place? After jail, prisoners are expected to conform to society and become law-abiding citizens, and voting can help keep ex-prisoners on the right track. Alan Slater stated, "I think it provides at least some incentive to continue to participate as a good citizen and not return to a life of crime back to prison." The 14th Amendment grants all citizens equal protections of the law. However, many fundamental rights are being taken away from felons, including the right to vote. The government isn't providing the necessary protections for all criminals solely because they committed a crime. Voting is a founding principle of our country, and is not allowing certain people to vote because they committed a crime is unconstitutional. The 14th Amendment is supposed to make sure we all have the same rights, protections, and the fact that they don't include felons in the mix is unconstitutional. The disenfranchisement laws created have disproportionately affected Black people in America. Black people are losing their voting rights at a much higher rate. According to the Sentencing Project, Black people are 4 times as likely to lose their voting rights than the rest of the population. As there are 2.2 million Black Americans who have lost their right to vote, or 1 in every 13 Black persons are disenfranchised, this is directly oppressing the Black community by silencing their voices by not allowing them to vote. Due to the deep history of oppression of Black people through slavery and the Jim Crow era, a new form of oppression has arisen through voter suppression by mass incarceration. This is clear to see as the Black community takes up 33% of jails and only around 12% of the average population. So many Black adults are losing their vote due to heavy policing and police brutality among Black communities. One way to reduce voter suppression of Black voters is to allow felons to vote once out of prison. Another amendment that protects voting rights is the 15th Amendment. It states the right of citizens of the United States shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This ties into voter suppression, which is brought on by the mass incarceration of the Black community. As mass incarceration rises because of police brutality towards people of color, more Black people are put to jail. However, because of the disenfranchisement laws, Black people lose their votes. Through the mass incarceration, the 15th Amendment is being violated as Black people continue to lose their vote due to discrimination through police brutality. To conclude, I have explained to you the reasons why prisoners should be allowed to vote. I touched on the history of the principles in which our country was founded on. I told the amendments that infringe upon felons' right to vote. I also explained the oppression of Black people through voter suppression. This is a grave issue as felons continue to be silenced by not being allowed to vote. Denying prisoners the right to vote is likely to undermine the respect for the rule of law. Allowing prisoners to vote, by contrast, may strengthen their social ties and commitment to the common good, thus promoting legally responsible participation in civil society. Jeff Monza.